Hello, this is Peter Woolfolk, producer and host of the Public Relations Review podcast. When I conceived this program, my idea was to provide public relations practitioners with a wide variety of solid, useful information and guidance from public relations professionals across America. And we are doing that. I will continue to cover important topics such as crisis communications and artificial intelligence and other such important topics. But I will also address other issues such as diversity in public relations, marketing to women, public relations trends, various data concerns, and much more. From time to time, I will also invite vendors of public relations products on to help you better understand how these products can improve your efficiency and your effectiveness. You will learn a lot from our podcast, so thank you for listening, and please inform your colleagues about the Public Relations Review podcast and continue listening. Thank you so very much.
Welcome. This is the Public Relations Review podcast, a program to discuss the many facets of public relations with seasoned professionals, educators, authors, and others. Now, here is your host, Peter Woolfolk.
Welcome to another edition of Public Relations Review. As public relations professionals, most of us have noticed the growing trend of artificial intelligence, or AI, in our industry. With this growth, the obvious question becomes, just what impact will AI have on the public relations industry? Now, with questions of such gravity, I've turned to someone who has looked into this issue. So joining us today from Columbus, Ohio is Michelle Garrett. Michelle is a public relations consultant and award-winning writer with more than 20 years of agency, corporate, nonprofit, and startup experience, and she works with clients worldwide. Her articles and advice have appeared and been featured in Entrepreneur, Forbes, Muck Rack, Reagan's PR Daily, Milkwater, Spin Sucks, and others. She was also named a top 100 PR influencer by Analytica and is a member of the Advisory Council of the National Organization of Women in Public Relations. She has worked with companies including Adobe, HP, Symantec, OrthoCare, the Ohio State Bar Foundation, Brisk Heat, the Columbus Art of College and Design, just to name a few. Now, Michelle graduated with honors with a Bachelor's of Arts in Journalism and Political Science from The Ohio University. Michelle, welcome to Public Relations Review.
Thank you so much for having me, Peter. I'm very happy to be here.
Well, look, now considering that artificial intelligence has and continues to impact the public relations field, what should we as practitioners begin to learn and understand about this phenomenon?
Well, there's certainly a lot of buzz about it, a lot of talk about it. You can't get away from it even if you want to these days. It's permeating PR and marketing, and I don't think, though, that we know exactly what will happen or when. It's early yet, so we really, at this point, need to, take a deep breath, not get ahead of ourselves, and remember, I think most importantly, that it will not take away a PR person's job. I think it's very important to make that point because I hear a lot of people talking and they seem afraid of AI and what it means and machine learning and how it will affect what they do. But I think we don't want to look at it from a point of fear. We want to look at it from a point of, how it will enhance what we do, how it will free up some of our time to be more strategic and spend our time working on initiatives that are really a little bit more thought-provoking than, say, creating a list or cutting and pasting and that kind of thing. So I think that's a very important point to start out with.
So in terms of, well let's say now, what are the three things, and you may have touched on it briefly, or some of the things that AI really accomplishes for us that can help us do a better job?
hmm Well, to be very honest with you, to get answers to that question, I went to somebody that I really respect, whose opinions on this topic are to be trusted, and he knows what he's talking about. His name is Christopher Penn, and I can share a little bit more about him as we go, in case people want to follow him online or check out some of his articles. But what he says is that the three benefits AI promises are as follows. So he says, first, it's acceleration. It means you should be able to get the information you need faster. So that should be a good thing for PR people. Accuracy. You should be able to get better answers than a human would provide for you. So say you want to use it for research. You should be able to get more accurate answers and faster. So that should be good. And then automation. It should reduce the amount of repetitive work that we do. So I know a lot of, especially people starting out in PR, are asked to do work that is rather repetitive, and I feel like that might be viewed as something actually positive if AI would help take some of that off of our plate.
So we're actually doing some of this work now, or using AI now, and perhaps maybe not paying that much attention to it, such as voice-activated assistants, Alexa, and the other similar devices can perhaps be put into this category.
I would say that's true. I just feel like we see a lot of vendors talking about the fact that they incorporate AI in their products, and I think we have to be very careful again. And Christopher, I think, would agree. He actually would say this too, that you really need to kind of look under the hood, kick the tires, make sure that if a company claims it's got AI, it's incorporating AI in its product, that it actually is AI. And that's important to understand. When they say that, what do they mean? Ask questions. What are you really saying? And that's where PR pros should really be prepared and do a little bit of research on, what really AI is and what it isn't, and how to understand just basically what we're talking about when we say that.
Well, as I listen to you say that, it appears to me that people should be prepared with questions that apply directly to what it is that they're doing. Maybe do a test run. Okay, well, fine. Here's what we do in my office. Show me how your product and AI will help us do this better or quicker or more accurately.
I think that's a very good idea. And a real, vendors that really are not just talking about it, but actually doing it, should easily be able to show you that. And if they can't, then you should be suspicious and maybe take a second look before you, spend any money on a product that may or may not actually be able to do what it says it can do.
Did you get any idea from the discussions you've had how advanced it is, and does it come at different levels? In other words, if there's a three-person PR shop, are there programs that they can use as compared to a large, maybe multi-state organization that has different needs?
Well, I would think, obviously, you're going to be talking about a bigger budget versus a smaller budget, and I think always the smaller budgets are, those firms are challenged to come up with solutions that they can afford. I know that one product that has gotten a lot of buzz for its use of AI is TalkWalker, for example, and that I'm not sure what the price points would be on something like that, but I know they have various packages and things that it can do. And one thing that it does is help you search for articles. So, for example, PR pros are tasked with finding mentions about their brand, their client, and so forth. So TalkWalker could go out and start looking if you gave it some criteria to search on, and it would find the articles for you, and then you can teach it by inputting information what to not include. So, example, if you typed in PR, it might find articles about Puerto Rico because the abbreviation is PR. Well, we don't want those unless you're, of course, a journalist covering, Puerto Rico, then you want those articles. So that is an example of something that a product could do right now using AI that would be very helpful, because it would save you so much time. It would probably find more results, better results faster, and that would be something that firms might want to look at investing in.
As I listen to this, I also think it's important for the individual agencies to look at what is it that they actually do. Because there might be some clients or some assignments, tasks that you have that might not require this. If you're asked to put on an event, depending upon what it calls for, maybe it does not require the use of AI in it. So perhaps there's some diligence required on the part of the intended end user to make sure that it fits their needs.
I would say that's very true, because it can be overkill for what they need. And I think right now, again, it's in its early stages. And I think, obviously as it becomes more and more adopted, the price points will come down, the use cases will increase, it'll be more practical, just like any other technology. I think right now, if budget is a concern, you can probably get by without AI. I don't think everybody needs to jump on that bandwagon, today. I think it's just something to be aware of, and obviously to look into and do your research, do your homework, and understand what it could help you with or where it could be going, just so that you're aware. I think just having that knowledge and that baseline understanding of what it is, and just so you can really think realistically about it and kind of plan accordingly.
Well, the other thing that I hear is also that perhaps there should begin to be, if they're not already, webinars that somebody is giving them. Perhaps organizations that sell it are putting on these webinars so that people can see exactly here's how it works. Or maybe some particular industry might say, well, here's how people in our industry, how we've used it, and here how others have used it as well. So perhaps the learning curve has to be dealt with first before people can decide on what to do and which way to go with this.
I think that's true. And I know, for example, again, Talkwalker gives, they just did a free webinar not too long ago that was in relation to their product and PR, and they do those from time to time. So that's one vendor. The only reason I keep calling them out is because I know that they're a vendor that people could trust to really be incorporating AI into their product. And I don't feel like, again, we have that level of trust with everybody who says they have it today, because they may be working on it, they may be going in that direction, but it may not be true AI and machine learning at this point. They may just be, something in development. So that's why I think it's just good to make sure you're following experts. Christopher Penn is one that I mentioned. He says online, if you're on Twitter, for example, to follow IBM Watson to help learn more about AI, and just kind of, even if you don't read everything they put out, that would be a source where you could go. And even if you just start kind of perusing what they share, it would begin to sink in a little bit, and you'd be able to kind of familiarize yourself with it. Because I'm definitely one that, has not taken a deep dive into AI yet. I'm definitely not an expert by any means, but I'm learning just like all of us are, and just trying to kind of keep abreast of what the changes are going to be and how that affects us. Because again, you hear people that are running scared, and I just feel like we don't want to do that, and we don't want to scare people. And the best way to not be afraid is to really try to understand.
Well, I think you make some very, very important points. Going back to the IBM Watson, once you see what it is capable of doing, I mean, it's really amazing. If I'm not mistaken, I just happened to see a flashback where it beat someone playing chess, the world-renowned chess player. So,
right.
How all those calculations, so forth and so on there. But again, I think you're also right when you say that it's incumbent upon the intended end user to look at, decide, if we need something like this, what will we need it to do? that you have to assess your needs and how it's going to help you and benefit you and perhaps benefit your clients, rather than just jumping onto it because it's new and flashy and has a lot of bells and whistles to it.
That's absolutely true. I think we could say that about all kinds of technology and I think it's overwhelming sometimes, the amount of technology there is. And then, if we do get into that mode of going after the shiniest object, we can really lose our way and not be paying attention to kind of the basics of our profession. And, we don't want to, in the quest to try to better serve our clients, lose track of the things that they really value. And those things, I don't know if they've changed that much. I think, they value the same things that they kind of always have, as far as getting their name out there, getting their story out there. It's just that the way that we do that and the channels have changed. And so if AI can be part of helping us better serve our clients in the future, I think it's definitely something to kind of keep your finger on the pulse of, as long as you don't, just jump out there at the very first product that may try to sell you AI.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think I know as I listen to you, make some very reasonable suggestions to listeners, and that is, just don't jump at it because it's new and shiny and all of those sort of good things, and then decide, well, now what do we do with it? That to me is perhaps obviously the wrong way to go. It's a waste of money and obviously a waste of time and resources. So it really becomes incumbent upon the end user to look at what's out there. And right now, maybe there are more than just one application or a device that can help you. Look at what it does and match that up with what you need to have done.
Right.
Okay. Well,
I think that's very true.
Well, let me ask you now. I think we've covered quite a bit. Are there any other issues in AI that you think we should know about?
Well, I think, we've talked a lot about, how we shouldn't fear what it's going to do. But now one point that came up when I was in these discussions was about, again, someone junior at an agency, for example, is going to be doing a lot of cutting and pasting. They're going to be searching for coverage. They're going to be putting together reports. They're going to be putting together lists of media contacts and influencers and things. And that is an area where AI is probably going to become a factor for us earliest. And so if that's your job, then you might want to be kind of supplementing that by learning, how to do other things. And hopefully, they are. But I just know that at a very low level at an agency, that's what people are doing. And, the clients are being billed a lot for that, and the person doing the job is probably not making a lot for doing that. And so, it's a really good candidate for AI to help out. However, that person needs to be aware that in that situation, AI kind of could take over what you're doing in your job. So you just need to make sure that you're always trying to stretch yourself, trying to learn more, so that when that does happen, you can continue to move up the ladder and be okay to embrace what AI can help you with, but then that, you still have a skill set that encompasses other things, so that you don't find yourself, kind of out of a job at that point.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can say right now, this has been very, very enlightening, and I really have appreciated what you have brought to the table today for not only for me, but our listeners as well.
Well, I really appreciate the opportunity, Peter. I think that AI is something, again, that we all need to be kind of keeping our finger on the pulse of in PR, but just not to get too excited yet, and just kind of keep an eye on where it's going and what's happening.
Well, let me say thank you so very, very much to Michelle Garrett for bringing this information to not only me, but to a lot of our listeners. That helps, let's say, soothe our nerves a little bit, that is not banging on the door and we have nothing to do or anywhere to go, that we can incorporate it into our daily activities if we reason and think our way through it. So let me thank not only again Michelle, but let me thank all of our listeners for listening to this edition of the Public Relations Review, and please join us for the very, very next edition. Thank you.
This podcast is produced by Communication Strategies, an award-winning public relations and public affairs firm headquartered in Nashville, Tennessee. Thank you for joining us.